Hi, this is Pete Ekman with the RoboZone podcast. Scott's already making fun of me. Yeah, we are in week 5, week 4. Which week are we in, John?
Oh, it depends. It depends on your opinion.
Oh, well, I want your
I
opinion.
think technically five. I think
Okay,
technically five.
we're in week 5. This is a Tuesday, the 6th of February. So it's week 5. They're going by real fast. So before we start talking, let's get some introductions, John. Introductions done. I am on the struggle bus. That's the name of this episode. So let's go with Scott first. Scott, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Scott Stapp with Team FridgeBot. You can look us up on Google, just hashtag FridgeBot. You'll see us. Although there is another company using our name now, so might have to dig a little bit. But yeah, Team FridgeBot out of Corona, Michigan. We're excited to be on the show today, Pete.
Make sure you get some of that money, get your royalties from the person that's using your name.
Exactly.
And I know your other mentors will pick on you as soon as they see this because you are not in your atypical FridgeBot shirt.
Sorry,
So
I'm representing my workplace. So
hopefully they sponsor your team. We'll go
they
there.
will after this.
Next up, we have John. John, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm John Urin. I'm with Team 1684, the Chimeras out of Lapeer, Michigan. I am the drive coach as well as one of the lead coaches. And then for the first time in many years, I'm actually not the design lead on the team anymore. So,
Ooh,
yep.
look at that juicy tidbit of maybe we'll see something
What?
different from you guys always have good designs though. So
Yeah, the
large shoes to fill.
Yeah, not to jump into it too much, but yeah, this year I wanted to focus more on basically just the overall team performance and the speed of the team. The running joke is that I'm the CEO of speed this year, so it's just like how can we be faster? And then a lot of the younger mentors, and we have a lot of seniors this year really stepped up, and they're really driving the concept and the design of the robot. It's This year's robot is far different than a lot of robots we built in the past. So.
Oh, can't wait to see it. So it's week 5. I'm labeling this one the struggle bus episode because I'm personally my team is on the struggle bus, and we'll get in a little bit of that. Um, but for anyone who hasn't heard your guys, you guys been on this podcast multiple times. Scott, just give us a little tidbit of the team, just a little like 30-second, because I have to regiment you. Give us a 30-second
I
history
I
of the
have
team.
been on the show before. Yes, I
Yeah.
have. So the elevator pitch for our team is that we started 10 years ago. This is our 10-year anniversary this year.
Oh, congrats.
Uh, oh yeah, and we started with basically 2 kids, 2 mentors in a barn. Literally had snow blowing in through the cracks in the barn. We designed a robot that was tall and skinny, and we went to our first week 0 event. And at that event, another team, Team Toric, named us FridgeBot and said, "Hey, FridgeBot, FridgeBot," and it's like the name stuck ever after that. We actually walked into Kettering, and as soon as we walked into Kettering, they're like, "Hey, FridgeBots are here." They already knew our name, so that's how the name came about. That's how it stuck, and that's our story. We've since grown into a larger work area in our school. The school is fully supporting us. They love us being there. So it's incredible. We focus on machining, we focus on welding, we focus on CNC skills that the kids can use in the workplace after they get out of high school. They could instantly go into a CNC machine job. We actually had a kid go into an automated vehicle company, told them he did some of the stuff in robotics, and like, you need to add that to your resume. There are tons of skills that you can learn in robotics, and it's incredible what they can get into after they get out of the program. So that's where we're at, where we're coming from.
That is the Scott Stapp 30-second introduction to the team.
Took,
I
took
hope
60
someone is out
seconds.
there with a recorder. I just like picking on you, Scott. I haven't got to pick on you in a little bit. I want
Yeah,
someone to timestamp the start of that to the end of that. Tell me how many seconds is
29.5.
You were not recording. But I mean, before we get to John, you make, and we talked about this in before we started recording, that we struggle because we're a small team. My team is, FridgeBot team is. Chimeras, I think you guys are a smaller team because you guys actually have two teams in the same school.
Yep.
That it's a struggle to get kids to understand what this is about, and that you do not have to be Einstein to be on an FRC team, but you want to be on a team so you can reach Einsteins. I'm going to put that on a shirt. That's a good saying.
Yeah. Anybody can be on a robotics team. There are so many things that are available to you. You know, you got media, you've got fundraising, you've got cheerleading. I had a girl tonight that I do driver's ed, so I talked to the kids in the cars about this, and she does baton twirling on a professional level almost, and I'm like, we need that in robotics because that would be awesome to see.
Yeah,
So,
she knows
you know,
she knows the movement of the batons, kind of like the movement of our notes this year. But before we
there you go.
before we go any further, John, give us the 30-second or 1 minute elevator speech that is the Chimeras.
Yeah, so I was actually one of the founding members of 1684 as an 8th grader. I graduated in 09. When I graduated in 09, the coach of the team, who is now my business partner, hired me at the company that I'm now vice president of, actually. And every single person at that company is 100% first alumni. So as far as getting a job goes, like our company really buys into it. A lot of the people are actually mentors of teams currently, mostly 1684 and Strike Zone, 5460, both out of Lapeer, Michigan. I should know this, it's like I think it was like 2010, 2011, the other high school, and this was way before Strike Zone, closed down, and we actually merged the two FRC teams, which is where the Chimera logo came from, because one school was Panthers, one school was the Eagles. So we merged, became the Chimeras. We did that for a couple years up until 2015, and then we actually hit a point where we were so big that we spawned off Strike Zone as a rookie team, and then they carried on and just kind of spun up into their own thing. As far as our two teams go, it's pretty much whoever you have friends with, you join. Or if you prefer wearing black, you join our team. So we are the the darker color of the two robots, that's for sure. But the Chimeras for a long time have just been a very laid back. We are competitive. We're very competitive, but we do have kind of a laid back attitude when it comes to hanging out with other teams, spending time, that type of stuff. We're not like we keep the competitiveness on the field, not off the field, right? So but we enjoy helping other teams. We've been around for a long time. I've been around for a long time. So it's been great helping out other teams, especially like even you guys, because I remember meeting both you guys for the first time on other FRC teams. So this is actually our 20th season. So we have some really cool apparel that'll be out for the public, which is cool. And yeah, we're just looking forward to building a different, very, very fast robot this year.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. So congratulations to both your guys' teams. Please send that out from RoboZone to you guys' teams.
Yeah.
Congratulations on 10 and 20 years. I remember the day I met Scott, because I was on the Martians, and the day I met John, you were doing robot aid or robot
rescue.
Robot rescue, and you had like a tool belt, and you had a couple students with you, and you're just helping robots at Kettering. So I remember the days I meet each mentor, which is great because I've known you guys the longest, other than my first mentors, which was Jay. I had him on last week, and Clint and Brandy right around that time too, the 2337. So just that's what we do. We're multi-generational mentors. I mean, different generations. John, you did this. I'm jealous because I didn't get to do this when I went through high school. And I always say that. And I will leave the joke on Scott alone for now.
What? Older generation and younger generation?
I didn't say it. Did say
it. But I'll be honest, as far as our team goes, the years that I was on the team, we had pretty much back-to-back rookie years, so like 5 or 6 times in a row. So our team is much different now than it was when I was on it originally,
to be honest, but to be honest, you didn't have a lot of COTS devices. You couldn't just go buy a swerve chassis.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
You're talking about the OG years of actually like
the old Andy Mark C channel chassis, the original kit bot, right?
As raw as you can get, no powder coating, no anodizing, just
no robo reel.
No,
What was it?
no.
What was that thing we were using? Cerio, that you hit hard enough and things would fall out.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
was I remember the year that we went from like it was like 8 slots or something like that down, or it was like 6 slots down to 3, and it was like 2 pounds lighter, and everybody lost their mind because they're like, it's 2 pounds. So
I'm saying that to my mentor now about he likes to build things rugged, and I like to
Mhm.
build things that are fast. So there's a good conversation. We'll get into that too. Okay, so we got the introductions, we got the basics down about your guys' past, and we kind of had a little bromance right there for a second. So let's get into the season, right? We're Crescendo. There's the logo behind me. We're in build week 5, right at the start of week 5. Um, week ones are breathing down our neck. At least that's how I feel.
Mhm.
So Scott, tell me about what you think before we get to where your teams are at in their build season. What do you think about the game? What do you think about the game itself, Scott?
I like the game. I think it's got a lot of aspects to it. I think it's going to definitely go deeper as we go into it. It seems fairly simple right off the bat, but first has it. The robotics competitions has a tendency to twist all that and turn it into much deeper levels. So I think this has the potential for that, especially at the climb and the hats there in the middle.
The trap.
The
It's a
trap.
trap.
I think it's a trap. I think there's ways to manipulate that and use that, that aren't obvious yet. I think that's gonna come in very very handy. But yeah, I mean, even down to the point of the note being kind of floppy and not necessarily like the frisbees of 2013. Um, I think that's going to throw a monkey wrench. I know we've already torn some of the coverings off of ours, so just the fact that the coatings are going to even change, are going to change the shooting mechanism. So I'm liking this. I think it's going to be great. I think there's going to be a lot of orange dust on the floor after people are shooting these things around. So it'll be interesting to see what happens week 1.
We made fun. I think it was last week. We made fun that the year of the yellow ball was a yellow mist, and this is
Yes,
like Cheeto dust. So
I think we still got some of that mist
Cheetos
in our
zest.
lab someplace. Yeah.
Cheeto zest. All right, John, I have been very patiently waiting to hear your take on Crescendo because I know you have a secret, not secret, you have a bunch of like bros that you talk to, like Corey
Gross.
Walters and Clinton
Mhm.
Bollinger.
I haven't talked to Corey too much this season, actually. I
Oh,
need to catch
well,
up with him,
you
actually.
will after
So
this because he will reach out to you. So
yeah.
tell me about what you think about Crescendo.
So my gracious like professionalism opinion, like my outward opinion is I think it's a good game. I think the shooting aspect's really cool with it's a different type of game piece. It's kind of reminiscent to like 2013 kind of vibe to it. Especially with the towers in the middle and everything. I think
Yeah.
there's like some
Yep.
really cool aspects. My kind of like big annoyance with the game is the fact that they didn't require you to hang to score in the trap. So you're gonna have everybody and their brother shooting from the ground into the trap and leaving all those notes underneath there. And people can argue with me that, oh, we've done it in our room. I guarantee you those FRC fields are gonna be different.
Oh,
Period.
guaranteed.
And teams are gonna spend 40, 50, 60 seconds trying to shoot one note into the trap, and it's going to be really annoying. And
Wow.
I'm disappointed that they didn't require us to be like at least hung or supported by the chain to score into it. So that's kind of like my hot take. And like whenever somebody asks me, they're like, "What do you think of the game?" I'm like, on the surface, I think it's really cool. I think there's some little nuances teams are gonna get stuck on, like that, where they're like, "Oh, we'll just shoot from the ground." Like there's always just this like if you're ever telling yourself in an FRC game, "Oh, I'll just do this because it's easy." I guarantee you it's not easy. Like there's something weird about it. So that's
Is
just like my opinion.
is that
And
the
I know some
consensus
people
of the
disagree with me,
yeah,
but
is that the
like
consensus of the bro squad that I was just mentioning?
no, there's a well, I don't know how Corey feels because I haven't talked to him too much about it. And Clint and I haven't dove into that too much, but we definitely have talked about like because like we don't get me wrong, I am not innocent. I tried to shoot from the ground too, right? And like we built the most realistic trap we could, shot
Mhm.
from the ground. We made a couple, we missed a lot. Maybe 1684 is just better at autons and driving really fast than trying to shoot from the ground into a weird angled thing that in my opinion, was designed to not be shot into from the ground.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but like I just think there's a couple little nuances that teams are overlooking and not focusing on, and are approaching in the wrong angle. There's a
Okay.
good pun for you. It's a bad angle. So
Well, I will tell you that when we went through our design process, we didn't even take, we didn't spend 1 second thinking we could shoot from the ground into that thing.
oh, good.
So we automatically thought out of the box that you would have to hang in order to do it, even though it's not a requirement in the rules. And maybe that changes. I don't know, because
I
First
don't
Likes has changed things, but
I don't think it's gonna change. I think if it was gonna change, they would have stopped because a couple of people like flat out asked on the Q&A. So I think they always could, right? They could, but I think at this point they wouldn't. So if you are shooting from the ground, I think like you're relatively safe, like if that's what you want to do from the rule change aspect of it. If you're shooting from the ground and like your accuracy, like you want it to be 100%, I don't think that's there personally.
okay.
So,
No.
I'll clarify that. As a drive coach, I'm going to ask the other alliance partners, how do you put the note in the trap? If they say I shoot it from the ground, I'm going to say, please don't do that. Because we're going to drive right through underneath there. At least our robot is short enough to drive through underneath the stage. And we're counting on that ability to go through there because of the cycle times and faster.
so I don't think I would tell anybody hard no, but I would tell them like try it once, but if there's a couple notes under there, maybe we stop.
Yeah.
Right? Because like any note that's like further down is
Mhm.
great because you can get it like you could as you're driving under it, you can build that into a cycle. So
Yeah.
there's nothing like terrible about that. It's just when you get into that end game, the last thing you'd want is like 6 notes on the ground or 3 or 4 notes on the ground, and then you're trying to hang while, you know, doing this weird like putting your swerve pods like a firefighter trying to run through the little boot camp thing or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want that.
Yes.
Like
Or
yeah.
get supported by a bunch of notes that are stacked, and then you don't get the climb because you're stacked on notes.
Yeah, like if you have you know, like a Thrifty Bot like single stage like elevator thing,
Mhm.
and you didn't design your robot to go all the way up, you literally just barely
Exactly.
pulled off the ground, right? Which isn't a fault of that. It's just the fault of like just making sure that you can pull up high enough,
Right.
right? And you pull up and then you're just resting on a note. Like that's gonna happen a lot. Like that's why I hate shooting in the trap. That's what hate's a
Have
strong
to-
word. That's why I dislike it. So
Have to be fully supported by the chain and not by a note laying on the ground.
Exactly.
yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I like about this is that we're to like 20 minutes into this, and I've
Mhm.
only asked 3 questions, but we've dove into so many different directions. That's how our conversations have when we do this in person. So
Yeah.
it is what
I'm
it
very
is.
passionate about the trap, if you can't tell. So
Yes, you're passionate about. I greatly appreciate you being passionate about the trap. So
That is
Scott,
tight in there, though. I mean, you're not just throwing it up in there. The thing's got to go straight down in order to get into the hold there.
yeah.
So
Well,
and you
and
have
I
to be
s-
high enough. You have to be high
yeah,
enough to do it.
Well, and I saw
Yep.
somebody talking about like they're like, oh, we have like 80-90% accuracy, and then somebody asked them like, oh, do you have the steel weights or what kind of weights do you have on your door? And they're like, oh, we don't have weights. What are you talking about? And it's like, there it is. Like, and
You
it's
need to
no
go look at the CAD.
like, and it's not like the team does, they should research it. If you're going to do that aspect of the game, you should look into it further, right? But it is, you know, and I hate it does kind of stink it's called a trap because everybody keeps like the trap's a trap, right? It's a trap. But it does stink because teams will overlook those little details on something that's like really crucial.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm glad people are finding it now and then realizing, okay, maybe we just don't do that. Maybe that's an aspect of the game we don't want to play with, right? Which is
Yeah.
totally okay. You can just skip that. Like you don't have to do everything. So
Well, since we're still talking about the game, how big is the trap? Is it necessary, or can you score more?
it depends on
Or-
what you want to do.
Yeah.
What's your goal? What's
Yeah.
your goal in the game as a team, like as an FRC team? Like depending
What's
on what
your
your
goal?
goal is.
Wait, what's your goal, John?
What's your goal, John?
My goal? I can't tell you that.
Why not?
Because it's my strategy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're a drive coach.
I know.
No,
I know my goal is to win. So hey.
So, and to go further, how do you want to win, right? Do you want to win by being the best first pick, Or do you want to win by being the number one robot and getting to pick the next best robot
Getting
to
to
play
pick,
with, right?
definitely.
So
Yep.
if you want to be number one and you want to do the picking, in my opinion, I think you have to do the trap in a way that
Yep.
you can do it every single match because
Yeah.
it gets you easier RPs,
Yep.
gets you RPs in general, and lets you climb those ranks higher and puts you in a higher seed. So
what I hear you saying is, because I think I can speak John Yern, or a little bit, is that
Nope.
for
Nobody
qualification
can.
matches it counts, but when we get into playoffs, it doesn't count.
I think it helps you still in playoffs.
Okay.
I think it still helps you. Like it's points, right? It's points that you can't get in any other way. Like if all your shooting's equal and the other people can't do a trap and you can do a trap, then that's points you have, they don't, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's wise for a team that has like the resources of building the kit bot and cycling and doing a bunch of kit bot stuff, and they're like, we're gonna do the trap. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense for you. It's like
Yeah.
be the world's best shooter, and the team that does the trap really well and shoots really well and ranks number one will pick you because they want the next robot that's really good at shooting, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Now, if there's another robot that's really good at shooting and does the trap, well, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. But hey, I have been on plenty of ragtag alliances where we're, second seed, third seed, whatever, and well, we get picked by second, third seed, and we were like seventh or eighth, right? And then we make it to a limbs. So like by no means like I would put underdogs out in this game. I think this game can really help underdogs if they play smart.
Oh
So,
yeah. Yep.
So Scott, did you prioritize the trap this year?
We're working on the trap, but I want to ask John a real quick question though. What do you think of maybe a robot that can do all three traps?
I think that has value at times, right?
Yeah.
But it depends on what else can they do and how fast can they do that. If they spend the whole match doing all three, then it depends on like I think earlier weeks I'll probably be better, but then like at MSC, that might not be the robot you want to play with, right? You might
Yeah.
it also depends on what everybody else does, right? So like if everybody doesn't do the trap and that robot's like this unique robot, then there's potential, depending on the week, depending on the comp, where it's like, yeah, that's the guy I want to be with. But if you're in a situation where everybody can do their own trap and they shoot pretty good, well, then I think that robot becomes less valuable just because of the environment that it's in. It's a trap inflation. So.
The puns that are coming out. Okay, so let's get some statuses. Scott, where are you in your build season?
We're working on the final robot. We're out of the plywood stage and moving on to actually assembling the robot. Of course, in that process, you're finding a couple different pieces that didn't necessarily, it worked in the plywood, but now you're moving on to and it's like, that didn't quite work as planned. So we're making some tweaks and we're trying to get it all together so that we can get it over to programming and they can start, doing their thing. And we kind of prioritize this year to get it over to programming fast enough that they can make this thing, really sing and dance. So, so like I said, we're not necessarily working on the trap just yet. That's going to be an add-on. And I was kind of wondering what everybody's opinion was of the parts in a box now that you're getting. When we first started, everything was your idea. Everything was truthfully in a bubble. You're not having a bubble anymore. You got robots in 3 days. You got everybody posting their processes, and you got Andy Mark basically giving you all the pieces, parts you need to do all the parts. I liked it when we could come up with our own ideas and not just buy it in a box. But that's me. Our team is one that likes to make its own parts.
So I will reply with, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail, but I'm an honest person. You guys know me. I just say how it is, right? With all gracious professionalism included in this comment, I
like
believe
where this is going.
This is a pay to play sport now.
Oh yeah.
Since COTS devices have got to the ranks of swerve drive modules and the influence that has had over the last 4 years of our competition, it's a pay to play. meaning that
Yep.
whoever has the most money wins. And
Yeah.
not entirely. I mean, there's other
Not
aspects.
entirely.
There's luck, there's strategy, but a rookie team coming out of the get-go and seeing a team that has 40 kids on it, that has a six-figure budget, that's going out of state to practice before you come in state and compete. And I've said this before, I believe there's at some point in the future going to need to be a JV and varsity leagues. That's what we do. This is a sport, right? In Michigan, it's a sport.
I don't necessarily think JV and varsity. I'm thinking more like districts. Like our school is very small. It competes against other small schools. We don't go down and play against the big guys.
You're talking 8-man football versus 11-man football, because 8-man, well, in the state of Michigan, you have 11-man football, which is just general football, and you have 8-man football, which is much faster. I don't want it to sound bad. I'm not trying to bag on anyone. I love First. I live First. I mean, on top of doing this and coaching and volunteering, I'm all in. I'm all in. But at the same time, I have to answer questions from my students that say, tell me about that team, coach. Tell me how they can do that.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't, and I'm going to use the V word, if this is more like Vex and we all had the same kit, then your ideas, like you said, Scott, are the ideas. Everyone looks at the same kit and they have brilliant ideas, right? But now I'm spending more time trying to fundraise so that I can purchase things, so that I can be as competitive as teams and that type of thing. Now, I've been on multiple teams too, right? And I've made those teams, I've made it and had accomplishments with all those students. Nothing's ever been bad. But I'll give you an example. For people that are outside of the state of Michigan, you can make Michigan State championships, and that's an accomplishment in itself.
Yep.
But the last 2 times I've been at Michigan State championships with my teams, we didn't get picked for playoffs because we weren't Swerve. We weren't that next technology, that level of technology up, right? And this year, I think First did a good job of backing it down a little bit. It's a fully clear field. There's no impediments at all. They provided the kit bot, which I think is try to level things out a little bit.
I like the kid bot this year. That was kind of cool.
That was my 5-minute tyrant.
So to solve your problem, then Pete, you just require Swerve for everybody.
Well, and
then how do you fund it? Then how do you fund it?
That's the same problem. That's the same problem we deal with every year, though, right? Like running FRC is expensive, right? And
it is.
I think the more offensive thing in this situation, like you're talking about pay to play, right? It's always been this way. The difference now is people are talking about it, right? Like it.
Oh, I
so
agree.
from the time that I started in FRC, if you look at our first robot compared to our robot today, the difference is not only just knowledge base and effort and the competitiveness, but also after a while talking with these other teams like Rush and all these other bigger teams, it's like, what's your budget? And then when we found out like our budget is significantly smaller than theirs, I'm like, well, we need a bigger budget. That's the first problem.
Exactly.
And so you literally design a group of people in your team to go find that bigger budget for you and help you. And then that alleviates the pain point for everything else. So
but
my problem is we are in a rural area. We're in a corn belt.
Mhm.
Everything's farm fields around here. I go to some of the businesses and hey, you need to support our team. They're like, I already support this other team. Why would I support you? And you're stuck with a limited budget. There's a reason that I drive from here down to Auburn Hills for my job, because that's where the money is. There's nothing up here. So, we're down at the tens of dollars budget, instead of the hundreds of dollars budget. And that's where we're stuck, so we make things, we make things. Look at farm equipment for inspiration. That's what we do.
One big thing is like there's the cool thing about having all this COTS though, the other side of the sword is you have all these Team Rev, Team West Coast, Team Thrifty Bot, Team IFI, right? Like you have all these companies who make these off the shelf products. Excuse me. So they make these off the shelf products. If you apply for sponsorship and you get a sponsorship, then you can get some of those parts donated to you. So I think we're in a
Oh,
weird circle right now where we're kind of like, it's like, oh wow, there's such a COTS boom, but at the same time, it's hard to get it because of the funding. But once you start applying for those things, because some of those they don't require performance, they literally it's basically a grant more or less, right?
Yeah,
And I know
right,
that's
right. Yeah,
time. I know that's time. That's difficult. But the hardest part about FRC is like finding the people to help you do FRC, right?
right.
Like
Yes,
it's
yes,
taken me
yes.
it's taken me a decade to build a team of people that like when I had to leave tonight to come here, and even though I ran late anyways, I knew like all the people staying behind at the shop were going to be able to get stuff done.
right.
So it's
So
taken me a long time to get to that point.
I
And
have two devil's advocate comments to make at you, John.
Mhm.
One, I don't have my team's not big enough to have a set of students that can just go out and try to get money.
Neither does mine.
Right. Number two, and this is not bagging on any sponsor or Team Rev, Team CTRE, Team
Team
Thrifty
Thrifty
Bot,
Bot.
Team Thrifty Bot,
Not
whatever
that I'm
those
biased.
well, you're probably sponsored by them. Then I'm getting that. No, it's name recognition
Okay.
too, right? So you say oh Kyle, don't get mad at me. If I say I applied for Rev and Rush applies for Rev,
Mhm.
it's because it's business, and I understand business, right? I'm a business owner. That you want to, the ambassador that you're picking has to be the one that promotes the company which you're supporting too.
Yeah.
So
So would
they're
you pick a YouTuber who's been YouTubing for 10 years, or would you pick a YouTuber who's been doing it for a day?
well, it
Yep.
depends. I think
So so
I understand what you're saying.
like
I
in
do.
20 years,
Yeah.
unfortunately, right? Like it's a hard drive, but like you will get, like if you build and build and build and build,
Mhm.
whether you're in a cornfield or whether you're in Auburn Hills, either way, it takes time to build. FRC, unfortunately, like I wish it was like it was Vex, where you could build a robot and you get a kit and then you compete with other people that are a similar level, and it's really based on like skill and stuff. But it's so open-ended that it creates a culture where it's kind of an arms race of who can get the most money to buy the most Krakens to have the, most brushless thing. And at this moment, that's where it was. 10 years ago, that is not where it was like who could do sheet metal the best. That was
Right.
the
Yep.
thing,
The
right?
Yep.
core
Yeah.
skills, core
Yep.
skills.
And then in 10
Every,
years from now, it's going to be something else. We're going to be arguing about who can get hex bearings or something. I don't know. Like,
you're gonna be buying Falcons and Krakens for $20 instead of Sims for $20, and then somebody else is going to be making that
Well,
yeah.
40-horse electric motor.
I will give a shout out to the Aussie team that interviewed a couple weeks ago that did one of the best robot 3 days I've ever seen, and they did it with sim motors. I gave
Oh,
them
cool.
kudos on that podcast.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't watched that, I don't want to butcher their name. But there's a podcast episode, one of the first ones for this season, where they did one of the robots in 3 days, and they had not a single Neo, Falcon, Kraken, none of that stuff. And
Yay.
I thought that was inspirational
So
that you could reuse
I
that stuff.
I read somebody posted this. I read it the other day that the Poofs would still win if they used brushed motors, and I firmly agree with that
Yep.
because they've
Yep.
been around forever.
Yeah.
They know how to build robots, they know how to play FRC, they know how to play a game, and they, even if they were limited by that, they would still do well just because they have that knowledge base and they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Some teams, they can come out of the gate, and especially nowadays, if they can get their hands on this material, can really excel. But I really enjoy the kitbot aspect because I
I
think
do.
that's going to raise the floor a lot, and
Yep.
that's going to help. Because the other question too is like if you just built a kitbot and you powder coated it and you just went out and you're the best kitbot, like is that the same as being like the best every bot in power up? Because
Yes.
I watched so many every bots that season win back to back to back to back because they were just really competitive. When they got to MSC, they kind of fell off a little bit because
Mhm.
some of the old guard teams were, they were on the up and they were kind of like peaked, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of those things where like I want to disagree that's pay to play, because like I don't think if you just like if you take a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing and give them a ton of money, I don't think that makes them better, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think it naturally does. I think it takes experience and a ton of money.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
It takes
So,
it takes people. It takes people, human resources.
Mhm.
It takes financial resources. It takes willpower and inspiration.
yeah,
Right?
I also
Those
think
four
it's
things. So.
I also think it's really silly to send out kids to get sponsors. I think that's super silly. I think you need to take an adult who's a salesperson and take one or two kids and then teach them how to become salespeople and then go to talk to sponsors. I
Yes.
hear teams
Yep.
all the time talk about, well, we sent a group of kids out and they didn't get anything.
No,
And I'm
no,
like,
no,
well, no, you need to find like,
This-
I guarantee there's a adult on your team. Somebody's parent is a car salesman or
Mhm.
works in sales or some kind of like sales type thing, and they can take a couple kids with them, go talk to places and do the shtick, right? And they'll excel. Like that's what we've been doing. We have a
Well-
couple parents on the team who take their own kid or a couple other kids and they go talk to sponsors and they bring back a bunch of money from it, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
There's resources
this is-
out there. So like Kyle, you'll be happy with me when I say this. 27 has an encyclopedia. I forget what they call it.
Oh yeah, the rookie toolbox or toolkit or something like that.
toolbox,
That was awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
And lots of stuff, and you can just download it for free.
Yeah, it has examples of like sponsorship letters. It has how to do
Yep.
things. So there are teams that help teams, and I'm glad there are.
There-
So
There is information in that toolkit also that helps you start a 501c3. Our team, our FridgeBot Foundation was actually based on Team Russ's toolkit, and
that's
we
cool.
use their resources. So, we've got our 501c3, which opens a ton of doors for any fundraising that you might need. I know you guys have started one, Pete,
yeah,
and
Yeah, we have one too.
our very first month of having the 501c3, we had 2 Bridgeport mills donated to our team. So you need to think outside the box as far as money. You can get things that you can either turn around and sell and make money, or you can use without having to pay for it. So we had $8,000 worth of mills donated to our team that we didn't have to pay for. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's all based on the 501c3. The guy that we got it from, he actually bought new mills, used those as a tax write-off, donated these to Team FridgeBot, used that as a tax write-off, so he got a double tax write-off. You need to present these options to especially if you're in a rural community like us. These factories might not have the money to give you, but they have other things.
stuff.
We've gotten tools, we've gotten drill presses, we've gotten work tables, workbenches, things that we would otherwise had to pay for. We can now use that money to buy the swerve drive system.
Yeah.
So,
or if you're friends with me, I just give you free swerve drives, right, Pete?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
But no, it's a network, right? Like it's
Oh, yeah.
once you're in-
302 helped me. You guys helped me.
once
Goonettes
you're in there.
Goon Squad helped me.
We
There's
got Macadam wheels from John a couple years ago.
Ah, there you go. Yep.
Macadam
wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so watch this. I'm reeling this one back in, reeling this discussion back in, because where we veered from in the cascading spiderweb is this discussion. I asked you, Scott, where you guys were in your build process. You gave us that. Now I want to hear from John. Where are you in your build process?
I'd have to check Slack. I think they finished powder coating the 3rd robot tonight.
Are you joking? Or are you
and
kidding?
buttoned up the 7-note autom.
Are not done yet.
I think
you're gonna
that's
get
where we're at.
some hate. You're gonna get some hate from the
No, we're
internet.
so far behind. We've never been further behind. I say this every year and it just keeps getting truer. We're really far behind. So we stopped building 2 robots 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I think. We only build one now. We typically build like a chassis that's the correct frame perimeter size of our robot. And then we'll build like actual comp bots. So that way programmers and drive team can drive something around. This year with, the scarcity of crack-ins and other motors and all that stuff, we're like, okay, well, we're just kind of like moving modules and stuff around. So yeah, we have like a practice bot that we've driven and tested and flipped over and done all that stuff. And then our comp bot should be getting wired this weekend.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at, which I would say we're like a week or two behind because I had some family stuff happen early on in the season, so I wasn't there for like 2 Saturdays. So yeah, I would say we're probably like 1 maybe 2 weekends behind, but
Okay.
we are our first robot, our only robot, is pretty much powder coated. And they did do a functional test tonight. I joke about checking Slack, but I actually have Slack open on this other screen here, and they
Yeah.
did do just like a very simple, like, can it pick up a note? Can it store the note? Can it shoot the note? And it shot it. Did it go
Okay.
straight? I have no idea. They didn't say that. They just said it shot it. So
Oh, well, that's a
but
theory. So
yeah, but we're building simple this year. We're Aiden and the students have came up with just a super cool, very fast, very simple concept.
okay.
And the thing I keep thinking is like if you took our robot and you just made a silhouette of it, right? It would look like past year's robots, but then as soon as you like took the silhouette away and you looked at the robot, you're like, whoa, that is a weird 1684 robot. And so I'm really excited about it.
Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it.
Awesome. Yeah.
So okay, my next question is because
Mhm.
we all have to shoot notes, right? So this is
You
what
don't
I
have to.
well, there's two questions. There's two arguments that are going on in Chief Delphi. I started
Okay.
one of them. So over the bumper or under the bumper pickup, Scott, go.
Under.
Why?
Well, because of space constraints and being able to get through the center section, I think it's kind of important to be able to get through the whole place as fast as possible. I mean, it kind of goes back to previous year where you had to get from one end of the field to the other to cycle the notes. I did find your comment earlier about the notes laying all over the middle as exciting because I might be able to go in there and pick them up. But
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out if that's all going to be in the end game or people are actually going to try to put them in the trap halfway through the game because you don't necessarily have to wait for the last 30 seconds. But I think
Week one,
think
people are
we're
going to be
gonna try
trying to do that right out of the gate. Guarantee
yeah.
it.
So there's going to be a bunch of extra parts laying
Mhm.
around there.
Yeah.
So over the bumper, I'm thinking we'll be able to pick up the notes faster, but then you got to be careful of hitting people and you're outside of your bumper area.
Okay.
So I'm thinking under the bumper just for what do I want to say?
Safety.
The safety, yeah, so that you're not getting penalties for being outside of your bumper and destroying other people's robots and knocking parts off them.
Okay.
Oh.
John, over the bumper, under the bumper, go.
Oh, yeah, it's tough because like I'm 50-50 on this. Like 100%. I've seen a lot of over the bumper stuff. I've seen a lot of under the bumper stuff. And I think it depends on your play style. If you want to be really aggressive and want to be like hitting other robots, doing stuff, you got to do under. If you want to just cycle and it's advantageous to your design to do over, then over totally makes sense, especially if you're using that mechanism to do other things, right?
Yep.
And you're trying to simplify. But like Scott said,
amp
there's
delivery, like amp delivery.
yeah, like amp delivery and stuff. I'm seeing a lot of these robots that like last year you only had to like really one or two mechanisms, right? You had like an intake and like some kind of mechanism to deliver it, whether it was an arm or an elevator or
Mhm.
whatever. This year, people are like, well, I have an intake, and then I have an amp device, and then I have a trap device, and I have a climber. Oh, and I also have a shooter. And so a lot of people aren't doubling up on some of these features, and I think that can hurt them potentially. I've seen I saw, well, House of Cards post on Facebook, their robot. That thing is crazy. That
I
is the most
interviewed him
House
last
of
week.
Cards
Yeah.
robot. I didn't see that one, so I got to go back and watch that. That is
Yeah.
the most House of Cards robot I've seen in a long time. I love it. I think it's insane and awesome. Like trying to pick up from all sides, like that's crazy cool. Like that's
they're doing it.
innovative.
They're
Like
doing it.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. So
Yeah.
seeing that is like super interesting. But yeah, I think it just really depends on what you're trying to accomplish in the game and how big your robot is. Because like to me, I don't know if you're gonna ask this, Pete, but like how big your robot this year is a really interesting question. Because I'm hearing a lot of like people saying like 30 by 24 or whatever, 26 or whatever. And then I'm hearing some people saying 26 by 26. So it's like it's kind of I think you're gonna see a lot of different sized robots.
26 by 26.
Okay.
Yep. Because, well, if you're doing swerve, it's advantageous to do a square.
Yeah.
Unless you want to spend a lot more time trying to figure out how to do swerve with something that's not a square. There, it can be done.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
can
yeah,
be
yeah,
done.
yeah. I think swerve robots make sense unless you really have to go long for some reason, right? That's kind of so the only thing I don't like about the under bumper is if you're doing under the bumper and you're doing that thing where you're a square swerve, but then your intake is out and it makes you a rectangle. Something about that I don't like. I don't know why. Like just but that I think is a personal thing. I think mechanically it's okay. I think it'll function completely fine. But like
Mhm.
for me personally, I'm like, I feel like you'd want to just like pull it to like past the swerve modules or something. But I get
Okay.
why people are doing it because they don't want to pull that note past their swerve modules because that's dangerous, right?
Right.
Like you don't want to actually jump into the middle of the note. So
Okay. So that's number one. Number two
Mhm.
argument. I did not start this argument.
Okay.
In a shooter, do
Yep.
you shoot it with the wheels top and bottom, or do you shoot it from the side? John, you're going first.
Uh if you're a kit bot, you should definitely shoot it from the side. 100%. If that's
But that's the
simplicity,
design.
all that.
That's the
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arguably, if you're a kit bot and you're shooting it top and bottom, you did something wrong. If you are just building a shooter from scratch, like me personally, I like top and bottom. So, like
Scott.
shameless plug, the Thrifty Bot wheels are great. So,
Yeah, I have some of them, but I'm not using
they
them like you
slap.
think. I'm not using them like you think. Scott, shooters top and bottom wheels or from the sides?
Looking at past years, uh, game pieces, do I want to say? Frisbees, stuff like that. They seem to fly better as they're spinning. If you're shooting top to bottom, you really don't want it spinning that way. If you have an issue with one of your rollers or something, it could pull it to the up or down. So I'm saying, you know, spinny wheel for the fling. So get the spin on it, you know, and get your accuracy that way. You can change your arc by changing your speed, but that being said, I've seen some of the robot in 3 days that are making the top and bottom rollers that seem to shoot it really straight, and they seem to be pretty accurate. So I don't think there's a clear cut. I'm just saying, science and physics say a spinny disc flies better than a flat disc.
Gotcha.
I'm even thinking when we shot into the big funnel in the air with the balls, you could change the way those balls went into there just by changing the spin on your shooter.
But Scott, what if you did top and bottom and one side is faster than the other side?
Oh, there you go. As long as you get a spin on it,
Yeah.
I don't think most people are going to do that. They're
John, yours is going to go end over end. Is that what we're doing?
They're going to roll it out like a copier.
Mhm.
Your piece of paper is going to shoot at the end.
So here,
Well, how far do you want the copier to shoot the piece of paper? You know what I'm saying?
That's
So
the
like,
point.
I want to hang out by the protected zone and shoot it all the way into the amp. So
Well, that's not very far. It's not very far this year.
Right. And that's one of the things I was hoping you would bring up here is what's John's thoughts about backing up to that protected zone and shooting.
Yeah. What is your opinion of that, John?
man, this is like a lot of my opinions tonight, huh, guys?
Well, we're weighing in, but we're putting you on the hook.
Yeah. So, protected zones are better, obviously, right? However, like we brought up earlier with the Cheeto Zest as what we've been calling it. Well, we just call it Zest, but the Cheeto add part is good. So the Cheeto Zest of it, as the game pieces are being worn in, destroyed, right? One could say. You may want to move closer, right? So like having I always call it the batter because it reminds me of oh man, I'm spacing on the game now. Stronghold. It reminds me of Stronghold where you parked in the front. So I think you want to have that shot. I think that shot's important. Having the shot back where you're towards the stage, I think is a good shot, but not necessarily like required. But if you're gonna shoot at a distance, that's a good distance to shoot at, right? unless you're way further back and you're just lopping them. And if you're just lopping them, you don't need to be accurate, so it's fine. You just have to like be within plus or minus 5-10 feet, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you're dialing in those shots, that as long as you're 100% at the front and you're hitting like 80, 90 in the mid, and then you're hitting 100% at that distance of like plus minus 5-10 feet, I feel like that's a pretty good robot. So I think you can achieve that with a top and bottom that's just straight axle. You could definitely achieve it with a top and bottom that like one side's spin faster than the other. We personally haven't done a ton of testing with like the kitbot style where it's on the side, but I've seen a lot of robot and 3-day stuff where they have done that testing and it works pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it would be fine.
So-
Those longer shots might be a little more difficult. There is an interesting idea that I've seen where people have talked about kit bots will do better because they're only tearing up the side of the note where everybody else is going to tear up the top and the bottom.
That's my theory. That's
And
my theory.
that is hilarious to me because I'm like, that's kind of a fun idea that like just because they're contacting it differently, they might have more accuracy.
Not only that, though. Not only that. These notes are sensitive. They're
Oh, yeah.
sensitive. They get
Yep.
beat up. So I'll give you an example. I talked to Ed Wynn, the head coach for the Electro Eagles tonight. We were talking, and he sent
He's
me
a
a
good guy.
video, and he said we are throwing this note out so fast by having our wheels on the top and bottom that we broke the speaker. We broke the back of the speaker out from a distance because
Wow.
what their testing has shown is that note is coming out with such velocity that it's acting as an airfoil. So it's like hypersonic. It's going and from the distance, from the other
What
side
are
of the
they
stage.
doing?
I don't know. He told me, I don't know if I can say it. I'm gonna say it anyways. He can be mad at me later. They're only using Neos. There's only one Neo on each of the two, right? Because they're squishing. And this is not news. I mean, everyone's doing this testing.
Sure.
So they have one axle here, one axle here. They have two Neos, 1-to-1 running. They're not even at full blast. And they're hitting that thing so hard they're breaking the back of it out.
Is it the Neos or is it the Vortexes?
It's the Neos.
Okay.
He said Neo, not Vortex.
Old school.
Okay.
Old school stuff.
Yeah. They're still testing, right?
school.
They're still doing testing.
They still sell them.
Yeah, they still sell them. It is old school compared to Vortex.
They released 1.1 last year. That's
I
not
know.
bad.
But it seems, I mean, in FRC, things get old real quick. But
I'm offended.
our strategy, John, at least for week 1. Now we can iterate from week 1 to week 5 because we're week 5. There's a lot of time there. For week 1, we took the shooter from the Cranberry Alarm.
Okay.
Robot in 3 days.
It's a good robot.
And we're going to use that. We're using the wheels from ThriftyBot. No secret sauce here because I'm on the Open Alliance.
Yeah.
So
I love those wheels.
Those wheels are awesome. They do really well. It's going to do really well. Just to have it for a week 1. We're not going for distance. We're going for consistency.
Sure.
It's a strategy, and as the drive coach, I want consistency because we're Swerve, first year Swerve 2. We built a mini chassis thanks to you, thanks to 302. So we built that, and now we're building the production one. So this is new for that driver. So being able to, because they've always been, this is their 12th year. They've always been a tank drive. This is new. So having the ability to, go, and we're using L3. So you're going to fly across everything here, there, and just getting there, being able to shoot, worried about defense, because defense is going to be a thing this year. Get it there, go. I don't want to shoot from a distance. I don't want to be worried about contact when I'm shooting from a distance. I want to drive my robot up there. I want to deliver, and I want to tick off.
I don't think defense is going to be big this year. I think getting bodied by another robot at full speed is going to be big this year.
Yes.
We saw that last year.
Well, but not even like that much though, because like the crossing that happened, the majority of the crossing was out of a safe zone into a safe zone, right? So it was very limited. This is gonna be like reminiscent of like Steamworks, where you have two robots blindly coming around their areas, and then they have to cross at the full speed of their robots, right? So
Right.
like when those two robots hit, they will be at max speed of their drivetrains. So like
Mhm. Yes.
the heavier robot, or not heavier, like the heavier of the two, right? The heavier of the two robots, the one going faster, and the one that's more dense is gonna win that fight every single time.
We got it
Church
done
bot
then.
for the win.
We haven't. We waited. Yes, we waited yesterday.
Mhm.
It doesn't have the intake on it. It doesn't have the shooter on it. It doesn't have the climber on it. We're at 72 pounds.
Oosh. And that's
72.
that's something else. Everybody with the swerve drives. I mean, these swerve drives are heavy, especially compared to what we were running in previous years that were a plastic transmission with very little parts. These are heavy. So people are going to run into weight issues. We're going to have a line at the scales with everybody coming back to reweigh.
But
I
that's
don't
fine.
know, because like every year, like we always like weighed in, and like when they upped it 5 pounds, like our team personally celebrated because we're like, oh, thank God. And then we weighed the robot and we were still like a pound over, right? So like
Yeah,
we always
exactly.
built
Yep.
really heavy robots, but the last 3 years we have not been anywhere near the weight of the max weight, right? Like last year we were at a point where like people would be like, hey, how heavy is your robot? And I just told them, I was like, we declined to answer that question graciously.
Do you think that's
Like,
a feature of the game or what? I mean,
I think it's because of COTS items, honestly. Because like a lot of these like tubes and like max tubes and the Thrifty Bot tubes and all this stuff that's been coming out, like it's designed to be light, and
okay.
so it's like you're just building lighter robots, as well as also not having like a motor and a motor controller, right? Like it's all integrated into one. Like that
Yeah.
package, there's less
Yep.
material, so like overall, it's it's just getting lighter. As well as like a while ago, they started like when you buy wire from ThriftyBot, Rev, Andy Mark, whatever, that wire is all pretty much the same, right? Except the ThriftyBot stuff, it's better, but all the other stuff is the same. So you like that wire is lighter than some of the wire that we were buying back in the day, which sounds silly, sounds insane, but I'm telling you, if you go check like your old battery cables from like 10 years ago
Yeah.
compared to today, like they're thinner, they're more flexible, they're lighter. So it's like
Yep.
all that stuff just kind of adds up over time. So
Go ahead.
If you look at the wires, the coating on the wires is like half of your deal. And yeah, you're right. They're coming up with lighter composites on it. You know, it's not the old heavy, thick, plasticky stuff.
And it's
much
really
better.
hard to put 125 pounds in a very small robot. A lot of people are building smaller robots today, so you're naturally going to weigh less because your robot is just smaller. So that's time and time again.
My
That's what we're
commenter is
finding.
taking that as a personal challenge to see how heavy it can be.
Steel belly pan. Get a 1/4-inch steel belly pan.
No,
Put
no,
your
no.
center of gravity as low to the ground as you can get it.
My belly pan is a 1/4 inch thick, John, and
Is it
it's
steel?
14 pounds and it's aluminum.
Oh, boo! You gotta
It's
go
14
steel.
pounds, John. It's
Nah, it's not enough. It's not as heavy as mine, I'll tell you that. And I
Bragging
guarantee mine
rights
is
on the
smaller.
I think I need to test some of this ThriftyBot stuff out. I'm just saying, if ThriftyBot wants me to do a product review, maybe they should send me some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
We can do torture testing.
Yeah.
We could use for sure.
It's
I
much
love that
easier in
stuff.
the
It's good
budget
stuff.
than an iPhone torture test, which I hate iPhone. So. That's it. Okay, guys, we've been at this for over an hour because I'll have to do some.
We need a
editing.
part 2. I want to talk about the trap more.
Oh,
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about the trap? Well, we can go a little bit longer.
I just want to be mad about it. That'll be a whole other
mad
hour.
about it.
I'm just kidding.
Be mad about it. No, air your grievances.
I aired my grievances. I think you should have to be hung to shoot into the trap or dunk into the trap. So, but
is it more respectful? Is it more respectful if a robot? I would, me personally, as a coach, as a drive coach, I would respect a robot more that climbs and puts it in than someone that just shoots it in.
I mean, if people prove me wrong and they shoot in, it's dunked. Like I respect that. That's cool. Like no
I respect it.
I mean, if you shoot once, you knock one on the ground. You shoot second time, you make it in, and then I get to pick up that other one. I'm also cool with that.
I'm cool with that too. You can try. I'm cool with that.
Once we start to get into like 3 and 4, that's when I'm like, let's dial this back a little bit. So
I'm just talking about the cool factor, right? We always see robots that have cool factors, like the one a couple years ago that was a giant spring and just sprung and hooked
oh,
right
the
onto the
vacuum
top.
one.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was amazing. I love that
that
one.
was that was a cool robot.
The one that climbed when we had the seesaw and used the stanchion as part of its support. Cool factor.
Yeah.
Corey is going to listen to this. He listens to all of them. The 2767 suction cup to the
Mhm.
surface in what was that year? Come on. Deep space.
2019,
Deep
Deep
space.
space.
2019.
Yep.
Cool factor. Some may say that they've been trying to set an example of everyone wants to use a vacuum every year since then.
Yeah.
So maybe there will be one this year. I don't know. But you can't use a vacuum.
Oh, don't say can't. People
Yeah,
people will
somebody
find a
come up
way.
with it.
You
Yep.
can't use a vacuum this year.
There is a rookie team in Iowa trying to figure out how to use a vacuum right now. I'll
Mm,
tell you that. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just assuming. So
okay.
We used it last year. We can use it again.
15 years ago, there would have been a team in Lapeer trying to figure out how to use a vacuum. And I can say that for a fact. So.
Well, you guys know the term cheesecake, and if
Yeah.
you've been around for a while, I think there will be something that comes up this year to do the trap that's a cheesecake, piece.
Oh yeah.
That's
I think first week or second week something's going to pop up and it's going to change this whole game, blow it wide open, and everybody will be redesigning their robots for the second event. So.
I may say that we're designing something because I told you we took inspiration from the cranberry alarm that
Right.
might be cheesecake-ish using that shooter.
That's cool.
I think Scott's seen I'll send you guys the CAD after this. So you guys can
Yeah.
see.
Cool.
It's on the Open Alliance.
I love looking at robots, so definitely.
Well, it's in CAD. It's not real yet.
Oh, that's okay. That's how we live our lives. So
In CAD.
it worked
yeah.
in CAD.
Yeah, it worked in
Yeah,
CAD.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why it doesn't work now. Yeah.
Our first year, the designer actually broke FridgeBot in CAD before we ever built it. So
How can you break a fridge in CAD?
it locked the arms wide open. We couldn't get them back shut in CAD. It was like, how did that happen?
Hopefully, you always have a backup of your design before you work on iterate it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. I'm gonna let you go so I can start editing. Before John gets into some more grievances of the trap, we'll save that for episode 2. That means that what events are you going to, John?
Kettering 2 and Troy.
Okay.
Kettering 2 and Troy.
So
Sorry.
after
Troy.
Kettering 2, I'll have you guys both on because Scott's week 1, you're week 2, and we'll talk about the trap idea again. We'll
Perfect.
have episode 2. In fact,
That sounds like a great time.
the trap episode.
I'm definitely sure my opinion wouldn't change. So
Oh, well, we'll see. Well, that's a cliffhanger.
yeah.
You're definitely going to have to put the Star Wars graphic on there, though. It's a trap. So.
Yeah,
we
it's
will.
a trap.
Well, we'll draw it in a way where I'm not going to get sued for copyright infringement.
Disney's watching you.
No,
Definitely. Always watching.
Okay, Scott.
Always
So tell us again who you are and how we can follow the team so we can get you out of here.
I'm Scott Stapp, lead mentor for Team 5084, Team FridgeBot. You can find us just about anywhere: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Just do a hashtag FridgeBot and you'll find us someplace.
Until that other company takes your name, and then we'll see 2 FridgeBots.
Yeah.
John, who are you and how we can follow your team?
Yeah, I'm John Urine. So you can find us on YouTube. Look for the Chimeras. We have awesome review videos. Go check them out. And this year will be even better. And then I think it's first1684.com. That's our website. And then we're on Facebook. I think they're starting a TikTok, or they started a TikTok, and they're gonna start making TikToks. One of those things. And then we're also on Instagram. I know we got a lot. Go follow us on Instagram because we're at 1,658 followers. So we got to get to 1684. So if you guys can
and lock it.
If people can do that, and then if you see it's about to go up, screenshot it, send it to us. We'd appreciate that too. But
do they get a piece of swag or something?
Yeah, I'll send you a t-shirt. If you screenshot it at 1684, if you're the 1,684th follower and screenshot and send it to me, I'll send you a t-shirt.
Okay.
And this year's t-shirt is gonna be fire because it's.
I'll set up a bot where it watches until it's 1683, and then
I'll get you cool t-shirts.
All right. Thank you guys for coming on board. Good luck with the rest of build season, and
Thanks for
we'll
having
check in
us.
with you after week 1 and week 2. Okay, guys?
Sounds great.
Thanks, Pete.